Lots of shows on TV about cops and robbers, good guys and bad guys. In Kingston, Ontario, though, there's a new twist on that old idea. The local cable channel has a program called Contact, a show about life in a local penitentiary produced by the inmates. The CBC's Jeffery Kofman has the story.
3, 2, 1, roll it.
They are not actors. This is not a movie set. This is a real prison, and that is a real prison guard. What is unusual is that the guys operating the TV equipment are convicts. The distinctive black and white footage is their trademark.
It's like home movies inside a federal penitentiary.
The men who live inside this prison are cut off from the world outside by steel doors, iron bars, and wire fences. They can't get out, but with their video camera, they can get their message out.
I think it's a very powerful tool if you use it the right way. Not as something to get on the air and bitch about everything that's going on, but to discuss the important points.
With camera in hand, this 8-man team has been roaming the corridors of this penitentiary since last summer, putting together a half-hour weekly cable TV show.
10, maybe 15 years ago, I don't think this would ever have been possible.
It's all happening behind the wire and the walls of Joyceville, a medium-security federal penitentiary north of Kingston, home to 530 men most people would like to forget about. On this crew, there are murderers, bank robbers, notorious criminals. Most are serving life sentences. They're in for 25 years before being eligible for parole. The guy on the left with the beard is Gary Fauché, serving life for the murder of Hannah Bucksbaum. As a group, they put together the first inmate-produced TV show in Canada, and perhaps anywhere. They call it Contact, con as in convict. One week it looked at the annual Prison Family Day, paid for by the inmates.
What do you got there on there?
Fried squid,
Yeah.
fried rice, and barbecue duck.
Barbecue duck, yeah.
Here's just about my 16th Christmas in.
It is never slick, it is usually slow and rambling, but it is also unique. It is an insider's look at the inside.
That there are people in this institution, young men, who never get a visit, never get a letter, never get a piece of mail, never have someone come to a social.
I think that there's going to be a segment of people watching this who are going to say, why should these guys be given the privilege of communicating on the airwaves when they've done what they've done? There's not a lot of sympathy for you out there.
No one is looking for sympathy. You see, you can only serve so much time. You can only pay it back to society so much. But if the shows that we're doing can enlighten the public who've never been in here before to get a little insight of what's going on inside, for example, at least we've done something. You know how you feel.
Contact is not censored by prison authorities, but they insist that it attempt to be balanced.
We're both in jail, we're both in the same situation.
The only outsider involved is Brian Judge, the producer-editor for the Kingston Cable Company that broadcast the show. It was Judge who came up with the idea.
Why I thought it was a good idea is because everybody and their dog that I know loves to think about what happens inside. You can't live in Kingston without knowing that there are, literally thousands of people living in area institutions. And you can't drive by one without having this sense of, I wonder what's shaking inside there.
Ronnie, if you'll take John then, on that perspective, and we'll just stay on our desk.
On this day, the crew is shooting a day in the life of a corrections officer.
3, 2, 1, action.
Although prison staff were initially apprehensive, even they are getting used to inmates armed with cameras.
At any time you're opening a cell, you're always checking it for things out of place.
It's a scenario that few would have believed possible. It represents a complete change in attitude by the people who run our prisons.
If we don't permit this type of programming to go out, then people in the city of Kingston and the surrounding area are going to conjure up their idea of what a penitentiary is. And I think we're far better to show them what the penitentiary really is.
Nice run. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3, correction.
Prison officials expect that what started modestly here at Joyceville will almost certainly be copied by inmates elsewhere.
Yeah, boss. That's for your Where's the two? Discharge. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, cut.
For News Magazine, I'm Jeffery Kofman, near Kingston, Ontario.
Violence is just one part of prison life. Now some inmates at Joyceville are trying to show the entire picture. They've turned the television cameras on themselves to give an insider's look at life behind bars. Here's Newsline's Terry Marcotte.
It's a sound that's been echoing through the corridors of prisons for generations. Now people from the outside are hearing it more often. At a medium security prison near Kingston, the inmates are not only in front of the cameras, they're behind them, as they try to tell a story many people don't understand, their story.
This opens the door and opens the eyes to the public to let them see that, yeah, we're all human beings.
I live here. I do call it home for now, yeah.
The camera is putting some clarity into stories about people like Gary Fauché, who's here serving a life sentence for murder, finding out about the dreams that keep him motivated.
Home, knowing that all the good things you do in life will come back to you.
Fauché's story has already been told in the homes of people in Kingston. The images captured on camera are reaching the public airwaves. A producer at the local cable station came up with the idea.
Jumps into a cell, pulls out his favorite book, The Nasty Girls.
Let the inmates show what life inside a federal prison is really like. Brian Judge calls his show Contact.
There will come a day where it won't be experimental anymore, where it will be a very standard thing to see this. I have no doubt that what you see today in the very early beginnings of Contact, you will see in 3 to 5 years from now as a program in the institutions across the country.
Some viewers have complained about giving convicted criminals free airtime twice a week. But for the most part, Judge says the feedback has been positive. The cable company has given the inmates some old equipment and showed them how to use it.
The cameramen themselves, they're getting really good at what they do.
But no one is telling the inmates what to shoot.
You know, I had a good life when I was out there.
Not the cable people, not even officials inside the prison.
The one thing I like is that they have balanced off the programs. In other words, the crew will talk to an inmate on a subject such as classification, but then they follow it up with an interview with a classification officer.
Freedom is rare in a federal institution, but the show has at least given the inmates some editorial freedom that in a short time they've learned to cherish.
We don't do an interview if it's a lot of made-up speculations in it. It has to be real, otherwise we just don't do it.
We do it straight from the heart, and that would mean that everything we say is meaningful and we hope that they will understand what we're trying to say.
Through this show, we're coming out. We're getting to play on the ice through this media, and you're beginning to see us as the humans we really are.
The inmates now spend a lot of time talking to each other, putting their new tool to use to repair some of the bridges damaged along the way here. They have stories to tell, and now many believe their stories are getting out with a little more clarity. Terry Marcotte, CJOH News, at the Joyceville Institution.